this idea that something popped in my head. I keep hearing this. I don't know if it's a movement, if it's a saying, whatever it is, it's BS. This, and I get so tired of hearing people say it. This idea of we are not our ancestors, and that drives me off my rocker when I hear that. This, because it number one lets me know that these people have no concept, no idea of what it is we've gone through, and the pushback that we consistently given throughout. It took a couple of 100 years for them of active fighting to first breach the walls of Africa to get into where we were. And it's not been an easy ride for them along the way. A lot of the things that we may have come across as far as punishments for like runaway slaves or different nuances, different developments within the structure of racism, white supremacy, are because we have pushed back, are because we have fight. They didn't get this good at being redneck racist white supremacists on their own. They had help, and that help was us, because we would refine what we're doing and continue to attempt to push back. If we'd have just gone along with the first instance of it, it would still be that way. If that had come under no challenge, no pushback, it would have just stayed that way. There would have been no development. So it's our pushback that has developed their skills and abilities to do what they're doing now. And so that whole idea of we are not our ancestors, it also, again, reinforces in my mind that disconnect, that, like you said, that individuality. We believe that we are individuals. And because we have been convinced and conditioned to believe our eyes, the masculine, and not our inner selves, the feminine, we can only come to the conclusion, because we don't see the pushback in the way that we think that pushback is supposed to happen. We don't understand that the pushback is bigger than that. We don't understand that pushback comes in different forms. We don't understand that this collective, when Europeans can sit back and say, well, okay, slavery was bad, but I didn't do that. In their mind, in their reality, that's true. They have no responsibility because they're individuals. We can't do that. It is beyond our makeup to not be connected to our ancestors 200-300 years ago. It's not in us. We understand culturally, and I don't mean the clothes and all of these, the people, what people think as culture. I mean the actual culture. It is not it slips out too much. Folks still pour out a little for the homies that ain't here.
Peace and power. This your Panther 48. This your big brother Psych. I'm calling out of Texas. Member of the original New Black Panther Party, started in '89 by Aaron Michaels and David Foreman. Many other and a couple of other brothers and sisters that helped build the foundation of that formation. I'm sitting with my other two brothers of the Panther 48, brother Robert Ward Williams, who was the second chairman of the first iteration of the New Black Panther Party. And now he is the chairman of the Black Panther Party in San Diego. Peace and power, Brother Walt.
Black power, all power to people.
He's also the national chairman of the People's Black Panther Party, headquartered out of Atlanta by Yang and Nkrumah. Also, we have Brother E, who was the Minister of Information of that first iteration of the New Black Panther Party under Aaron Michaels, David Foreman, and then under Ward's leadership as chairman. He's also our Minister of Information emeritus and forever the Minister of Information. Peace and power, Brother E.
Greetings.
And today we have a special guest, as we do every so often. We'll bring people in from different formations, some people in from different revolutionary groups and organizations. We didn't have people in from the MOVE organization, people in from we didn't have brothers like Brother Rob Lilly who is the founder of the Cipher organization and many other Panther formations that we've had on People's Black Panther Party, Huey P. Newton Gun Club, and many, many others. So today we have a special guest, and I think that my introduction probably would not do the sister the great benefit, so I'm gonna let her introduce herself. So, Chairwoman Robison, can you please introduce yourself and tell the people who you are?
Sure thing. Thank you, Brother Slake. I am Chairwoman Robison of the Washington, D.C. chapter of the Black Panther Party, chapter number 628. That's how you distinguish, because we have other groups in the district that are of the Black Panther Party of some different, rank and files. So we go by charter number 628.
All right. Brother Ward, what did I say you was for the People's Black Panther Party?
You said chairman.
Oh, that's my bad.
Chief of staff. Thank you.
Yeah, Brother Ward is the national chief of staff for the People's Black Panther Party. That was an error on my part. I've had 3 hours of sleep, so y'all gonna have to forgive me for that. Your chairman Yang Nkrumah is the chairman of the People's Black Panther Party. So anyway, I'm gonna let Brother Ward lead the discussion. Usually I'll be the narrator, but I'm gonna let Brother Ward lead the discussion for this one. And the way we do the focus is gonna be on Chairwoman Robison, and we reserve the right to come in with dialogue, conversation, questions at any time. But we're gonna let you be the center of attention. Brother Ward, take off.
All right, first thing I'm gonna ask you, comrade, and this is just dealing with women in leadership from that standpoint, because not often do we get to highlight that, as well as do we see someone in a chairperson position. So what are some of the biggest challenges you face as a Black woman in leadership, in and out of the struggle?
I'm glad you asked that question. That's a very good question. As a matter of fact, unfortunately, being Black and being a woman in leadership is like the double powwow of that intersection of misogyny and being, dealing with the other, sometimes racial overtones or undertones, even from other organizations that are of different ethnicities. And then with my own peers, sometimes you're challenged. You're challenged in a sense to say, like, do you really know what you're doing type thing without saying it, And what I mean by that is, an example is like, you'll say something, or you'll make a post, and they will just ask 50 million questions about it just to see if you are really, studied up or have an idea. But the main thing is not having respect for females in that role, because like, you're a Chairman Ward, so people will address you, oh, that's Chairman Ward, but nobody is going to come off the top most of the time and say Chairwoman Robison. It's like, oh, this is Sister Robison, and I have to stop them and say, are we in familiar? And that's not arrogance, that's training to how I am to be addressed by people that I'm not really, I don't really know well yet. Until we become familiar with each other, then we can graduate to a camaraderie that allows you to call me by my name and things of that nature. But all of that to say, you work really hard as a woman to get to this point. It's not easy. No one gives you a position. No one gives you a beret. You have to study. You have to work hard. It's blood, sweat, and tears, all day, all night. Pantherism is not like a social club. It's a lifestyle. So with that being said, it's hard work, and I expect to be respected as such and not be challenged. And the biggest part is men will try you in a way that's not appropriate as well. So you make a lot of enemies when you address those situations, because I'm not here for that. I'm here to serve my community.
Tell me this, in regards to saying that, do you basically, from inside of the struggle, as much as you can relate without it seeming to come off on individuals, as Chairwoman of the Panther Party, Black Panther Party, you still face a male chauvinism and people not having respect by other Panthers treating you that way to some
Definitely,
degree.
definitely. Yeah, that's within the party, not necessarily in my rank and file, but I get that a lot. I do.
And
Do you
that's
got it?
something.
Go ahead, Si. Go ahead.
Just real quick, that's something that's not actually new. I mean, even in when we go back to what Huey like, I mean not Huey, what Brother E like to call Huey and the boys, when we go back to that iteration of the Panther, they had that there where the women wasn't where that chauvinism and I think E could probably speak to this even a lot better, that that chauvinism that we picked up from being in this society is even in our movements. Is we're expressing it in our movements as if women are less capable uh, of holding these positions. When 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 a lot of times, especially when you look at the Oakland Black Panther Party for Self Defense, it was the women that held those survival programs together and made them flourish.
That was another thing. I had mentioned that one day, and I was told that that wasn't true. That it wasn't more women. I'm all like I know I read this and I studied this, but those are the type of things that I'm talking about. I'm constantly being challenged, but I'm up for it. I'm up for it, but it just becomes counterproductive sometimes, and it's counter revolutionary, and sometimes you just don't want to be challenged and just not move for that. It's like, just can we just come together, especially with all this going on, and just have respect for everybody that is doing the work, trying to do the work. And even if we don't collaborate together, we can share ideas and at least have respect for people. And I think that it's a lot of you know discussion on platforms, and people that don't even know me uh, have said some really questionable things. So it's amazing what women go through in leadership versus what men go through. It's just so much more heightened for the windows, the door is really open for a lot of things.
What what as a course of action, being aware of that, what course of action do you all institute in your policies and programs and whatnot, generally speaking, to unravel that mindset within the membership?
That's a good question. I like the straight on approach. I like to have a conversation and give a person a chance, because nobody's perfect. We all have good days and bad days. So somebody may be a little harsh or whatever. They may be having a bad day. That's excusable. But if it's happening all the time, or you're just blatant with it, then I address it as having a conversation. I like to have a conversation with that person personally, instead of going on any social media platform, addressing it or anything like that, involving a lot of people, to see if we can work it out. I follow protocol. First, I'm going to go there. And if that isn't working, then if I need to take it to the officers on board, then that's what I'll do. It would just keep going up the ladder as need be, if need be. But luckily, it hasn't had to go that far. I just been able to ignore certain people and the things that they say, and that's it. It just winds up with me just ignoring people,
A
so that I
question
can stay focused.
on that same note, do you see that this actually helps you to get more stronger or attract more women to the movement?
That part. It's easier to get women into the movement than men. And I wonder, a lot of times, why that is. And in their defense, we're in a military state here in the District of Columbia, even though the DC is not a state, we're a district. But we have the National Guard here, and people don't want to lose their jobs. A lot of people here in DC have jobs that are government jobs, and so they are afraid of that. And then we have the black bourgeoisie, that also is like, we don't want anything to do with that. It's reputation, and people don't have knowledge of what the Black Panther Party really is. I'm finding out, like in California, you know what the Black Panther Party is. There's murals there. That's where it started. People respect you guys, and but it's different in the district. It's surprising the amount of people that don't know who the Black Panther Party is at all. And so that's a challenge within itself, to assure people that we are not a bad organization. We do not do any of the things that we were labeled as years ago. The biggest one is that we're some Black nationalist group that, we hate white people, or, just all of these myths that you have to constantly, straighten out and make people aware of who we are and what we stand for.
That's a result of, because I ran into that a lot when I was on hiatus. A lot. The number one was, ain't the Panthers the Black Klan? That's what I used to hear all the time.
Yep.
And my response would be, can you give me one example of Black people burning crosses in front of white churches? Can you give me an example of Black Panthers dragging white people down the street from behind horses or trucks? I mean, you need to give me examples of the Black Panthers doing what the Klan does to Black people, to white people, in order for you to make that type of comparison. Because you have no historical record of Black Panthers doing any of those things. So why are we compared to the Klan? And I used to love to use the example of the fact that people like Fred Hampton started the Rainbow Coalition, or
That's
the fact
right.
that Huey worked with white radicals in California. And that's part of the reason why he and Stokely Carmichael kind of fell apart. That was kind of the beef that they had, that Stokely Carmichael didn't agree with that, for particular reasons. And that can be read in the book The Black Panther Speaks by Philip S. Forner. But you look at that, so our people are making these statements, or these caricatures of who we are, not based off any study or reading, but based off the media machine and what America has placed into our thinking, into our mind. I want to say this, then I'm gonna be quiet because I know my voice ain't really always right, and it's stressful for me to talk. But to go back to the women in power thing, I think that one of the major things that has kept us from getting closer to the liberation that we want to see is the fact that we keep looking at power from a Eurocentric perspective. When men and women bring something different but complementary to life, period. Both of those things are needed in order for life to have its proper balance. There are certain things, there's no such thing, and we have these ideas, there's no such thing as a man completely having the ability to be a man without understanding the balance that feminine energy brings to his manhood, and vice versa. There's no way a woman can truly be a woman without understanding, respecting, and being in line with what masculine energy brings to her womanhood. It can't happen. It doesn't exist. And that's why our movements, I believe, suffer, because men, we like to use the metaphors of knowledge and wisdom. I believe that men bring knowledge, men bring that sunlight, while women bring wisdom. Women are able to take that knowledge that's brought by a man and incubate it and rebirth it to the world as wisdom. And that mating of knowledge and wisdom, there can never, in my mind, be understanding unless that mating takes place, unless that happens. And I think that's what our movements have been missing. We don't understand the value that both bring. He told me over 20 years ago, he was telling me he was and he don't remember a lot of stuff because of all the times he has fell and bumped his head and been arrested by the pigs and threw in police cars, all those things that he has went through over the years. But he was telling me, he was talking about the what is it called in the Catholic religion when you go into that booth and you
Confession.
Yeah, confession. When you go and do your confession to the priest, he was telling me that that was representative of an ancient African tradition where kings on their birthdays would lay in their mother's lap and confess to their wombs, talk. And because the womb of a woman was the closest thing to God, that was the pathway that spiritual energy became wrapped in flesh and then birthed into the physical world. So that woman having that connection with God had the ability to talk to you and counsel you and walk you through the things that a king needed to be able to walk through. And he was expressing that, and over the years I've always thought about that and the power in that, and I use that today. Whenever I have something on my mind, I go to the wisdom, the woman, and I express what's going on. I talk about it and I listen to her. I listen to her, even if she ain't read as much as I read, even if her vocabulary may not be as big as mine. She has an experience that I don't have. She has a way of dealing with the world that I've never dealt with the world in, and then she's able to express that back to me in ways that I'd be like, okay, all right, let me go at it this way. I love to sit with women and go over those ideas, and I think that value in each other, women valuing men and men valuing women, is one of the things that the movements have been missing, because we all bring something that's necessary and particular to who we are, to the movement and to the struggle.
I, I'll take you one further. You listen to her because she has an experience that you can't tap into, and that's to draw a more defined line between the experience, the knowledge, and the experience, the wisdom. So just to kind of draw that defining line even more clearly, and this idea, it's natural for men to to have a greater level of physical respect for a man in power than a woman. That's just the nature of manhood. That's what it is. In Kemet, when Hatshepsut, they try to say she was gay or some shit, because when she ascended the throne, she started wearing the false beard and the headdress and the clothing of a male. But it wasn't that. It's because she understood that when man sits across the table with a male representative of the enemy or whatever, that enemy is going to respect a man's projection more, whether it's right or wrong, more so than he does a female. When Nzinga went to have a conversation with the Portuguese to get them up the hell up out of her life and her people's life, they refused to give her a chair because they didn't respect the fact that this is a woman sitting across from them, and they wanted to make that clear. So it's natural. However, and this is one of the things we do, is a lot of times as a people, most times as a people, we confuse individual experience with the actual concept. Racism, white supremacy. Somebody calling you a nigga is not racist. The choice of words. It's racism, white supremacy, like sexism, chauvinism, all of that is a system that has been developed based on that particular part of an expression of maleness. You know what I'm saying? It's the systemic oppression of femininity that they have imposed on us, because again, it's not us. So having that understanding that it may be beneficial to know, or for those that we're working with to understand, or to be able to start to delineate, so that we don't take it personal, so that we don't see attacks as attacks on us. This is an attack, especially when it's male female. This is shit that they've been fomenting. This is what they've been doing. This is what they've been working on. Is to divide the masculine and feminine in our communities, in our culture, in who it is we are. So yeah, just want to throw that in there. I mean, it has a historical basis. All of this negative stuff that we're dealing with, and always had its beginning in the game. So there was a part of the personality that we understood, we overstood it, and incorporated it into our culture in a way. The most traditional African systems are matriarchal. Yes, there's a man sitting on the throne, but Aset was the throne. Aset decided who was going to be king. So while he wielded the power going out into the world, she decided who was going to wield that power. So elevating that understanding, that concept, that idea of womanhood and what it's actually supposed to be, because we have no concept of womanhood at all, other than to say a female that's over 18. You got biology and a legal status. That defines womanhood or a woman or an adult in the society. So all of that kind of goes back to that mindset. And unfortunately, yeah, when we deal with especially brothers that come in, we are children. We were children. And I'm not saying we had females that were in, sisters that were in the party working with, and I know the three of us never had an issue working with them, because if nothing else, we understood something about what was going on. So heightening that understanding to me is paramount, especially being a sister and finding ways to undo the damage. That's not us. That's the nigga in us. That's been done to better, get that mind right. But my bad, I didn't mean to go on.
No, you're fine. But that's just it. It's the conditioning a lot of times, and then you have to look at how people were raised and how they perceive other people and how they perceive women in general. We're coming from a time where we have families that don't get along, people that just don't like their mothers. So, and they just don't really care for females. We have all kinds of things going on, and that's when we get into our behavioral health and addiction issues. And we have so much to deal with that make people think the way that they do, their mindset. And I like the fact that you said about what you said about infants, because when you're coming into the revolution, you are an infant to the revolution, because you're learning how it works, and so you may bring that behavior with you, but Pantherism is designed to change that behavior. So, I'm not the type of person that's going to get so defensive or offended. I try to work with people because that's why we're here. We want to make our community stronger by any means necessary. But we have to stop overlooking the behavioral health issues and the mental health and the addiction issues, because it's huge, and we have to start addressing these issues, in my opinion, from ages 0 to 5. And then we also have to look at the social determinants of health and how people were raised and how they grew up, your social economic status, and all types of things can figure into this. What I'm learning. So every case is different, every person is different, and I believe people do change. People do change when you give them a platform to grow. People will change.
Let me say this, Chairwoman Robison. Certain things I'm noticing that especially is being highlighted now with us talking has not really been introduced properly or had its proper place from the political educational study within the Panther movement that should be. And one of those things I would say would be, just like what we're talking right now, is one of the things that it would take somebody like yourself to highlight and bring to the forefront, as it being a male dominated society, and even within the movement in terms of leadership being male dominated, not enough emphasis is placed on the nurturing component, or not enough emphasis is placed on the restoration and the repair of the Black family. And so, as a chairwoman, do you find that to be something that you have to re-interject into the movement?
Yes, it's not, as a woman, I come as a mother, I come as your comrade, I come as your sister, I come as your aunt, I come as your therapist. I have to wear a lot of different hats to deal with a lot of different situations. And I'm so happy that I do have some training in that field, and I can see sometimes what's going on. And I just want to add this. I also thought that it would be a good idea if we have some kind of little network within the movement, like to address certain issues like that, where people don't have to know about it. Not all the comrades don't have to know, because someone could be feeling shame or bashful for something that they're going through, but just have a safe place where people could come talk about their issues and get help so that they can come into the movement whole. Because you have to have certain issues addressed to be a Panther and be a good Panther, you know. And if you're worrying about how you're going to pay your rent, and if you're trying to figure out where you're going to get your next drink, or if you have other underlying issues, they need to be addressed. And if we're a family, and so we should be able to have somebody or something built where people can have help in-house help as well, just like the help that we want to give to the community. But we have to make sure we are okay and we are mentally sound before we can go out to the community and help anybody else. Because sometimes you see it, or even myself, if I don't feel like I'm grounded, I'll step back from something and take a breath or whatever. And, you know, I like to listen to the mindfulness tapes and things like that. That help me relax, because sometimes you can get overwhelmed with the things that's going on in the world, and that's everybody right now. So we toy with a whole lot of different ideas, and especially for the youth, to have people to talk to for different situations.
Do you find that men are forthcoming with the fact that they have grew up in a dysfunctional family, and willing to allow that safe space to be even a thing to take place? Because I think when we're talking about just Pantherism, like you say, is that a lot of times we may be jumping into this and not even conscious of the fact that we have a distorted view on what the family is and the significance of the Black woman in that place, as we call ourselves being revolutionary.
That's another thing, that word. But I do find that once the men trust you, once you gain their trust, you have to do a little work, because nobody is going to really trust you right off the break to devouse big information like that. But I'm learning, like, people feel comfortable with me now. So I'm getting people to talk. And that's the main thing, that they're not holding it inside. And then they know that it is help. And because I'm a native Washingtonian, so I know where resources are in the district, so I can help refer people to get that help. And I have no problem with that. But the thing is, the person have to want to do the work. So, you know, that's like with anything. Like if you have addiction issues, I can't do it for you. You have to be serious, and you have to really, you know, take these courses or whatever and stay clean. You want to do this, because can you imagine somebody on your defense department that's under the influence and you want to maneuver somewhere? You can't. You just can't. So people have to be sound and held accountable to help themselves as well. That's in-house and out-house.
Is there a council that you can speak of in regards to either chairwomen or women in power within the Panther movement that talks on this level?
Well, you know, that's a good thing, is because I have a lot of comrades, well, not a whole bunch, but I do have some comrades. And the good part about it is that we do get together and we rap, you know, and it's all females. You know, some of us are Panthers, some of us are from other formations, but we can come together on different topics that's going on. Be it if you need help because you lost your job, or you have medical issues and you're upset, whatever. So we kind of created that bond, and we'll be happy to help the brothers create that same type of bond. It would be a beautiful thing.
And the reason why I asked that is because I don't recall really hearing something like that promoted in the community. And the point is for the listening audience, they need to know that these type of things exist within the movement, and that it's not all male dominated, male chauvinist to the point to where it can't even be facilitated and be something that is actually a part of our structure. And so that was the reason why I asked you that, is because again, even within formations, a lot of times we're stepping into this, we're bringing our baggage. So men coming into the
Exactly.
movement, bringing that type of, the channel tunnel vision energy of the stuff that they've dysfunctionally dealt with growing up, not even realizing that they're dysfunctional in regards to how they view the black woman, they bring that element. And so oftentimes, especially in someone in a leadership position, they're only going to attract a lot of the same energy that they put out. So if I have
Exactly.
issues with the black woman and I come into the movement, a lot of times I'm going to
Exactly.
attract other men that got issues with the black woman. And before you
Hmm.
know it, that becomes what we are centered around. And so it takes somebody like yourself to be able to put us back in check and get us to realize that dysfunctionality. So within our movement, we definitely have to have something in that is part of our internal educational program to nurture and repair what the black family and the roles of the black woman are, because a lot of us as men suffer through our upbringing of not having a positive image of what a black woman should be, even within our own nurturing.
Hmm. And you hit the nail on the head with that. And it works the other way
What
around too. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that works the other way around too, because we have sisters that have, issues with things too. They have abandonment issues because they've been left by a parent or other things, not going into anyone's business or anything. But so people are, what I want to say is that we just have to take our mental a lot more serious than we do. And we have to break the stigma of mental health. Like it's a disease that nobody can talk about and nobody should know and things like that, because people are suffering from early childhood trauma and all kinds of things. And we can't expect them to be productive with this type of baggage. Um, but there are a select few amount of people that have learned how to mask really well, and I know because I used to be one of them. But uh, I tapped into that, and I tapped into it real heavy, and also how that intersects with the social determinants of health that we go through in this world, and all of the oppression and how that works together. So you see people that really want to do so much for the community and they want to do well, but they just may be having some problems in some areas. And nobody's perfect, you know. But that's only one part of what the revolution is about. It's so many different segments, the mental, the physical, the respect, all of these things, it have to be present. It just has to be. And you have to start out that way and keep it that way, because I don't like cursing and swearing and stuff like that. Now, if I'm playing with my sister or something and we alone, I might say some things to her, but I don't think, or I don't see a place for that being positive. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I was going to ask what kind of political and cultural education arm or program do you have going on for your membership there?
Well, what I've put in place, I went to school with people who have their degrees in this type of work, and I asked them, "Hey, would you all be willing to help some people in our organization?" And so they said they didn't have a problem with it. Would you be able to donate some time? And there are people that look like us. It's Black people that have been through the same problems they have been through. They have the same lived experience. That's another thing that's real important. People have peer support programs now that are really popular, because oftentimes people rather talk to people that have been through the problems that they've been through instead of the doctor. So we now have peer support workers in the middle, working as liaisons. So that's very helpful when we can bring in people for our organization and the community and have a roundtable and say, hey, let's put it all out there. And they build a family because it takes a village. Everybody become family at some point. And then what we do, we expand it to the children. We get the children involved. We get the children to talking without their parents in the room to find out what's really going on at school, or why is it that you are just so quiet all the time, or whatever the case may be. And it works because they may get amongst their peers and talk about things that is going on with their moms that may be really minute or just misunderstood and just need a conversation to clear it up. And then get with the entire family and say, hey, we need to have a meeting together so we can understand what Sue is going through or something like that. So that's what I see.
Question also, just real quick, if there's more that you can bring to the table. With having the Panther chapter in DC is something we don't really much talk about or get exposure on. What are some of the different things that Panthers have to navigate through in DC that will be that's different than other states for other areas because it's DC?
Well, DC is the belly of the beast, as you know. We're here with all the politicians, and it's now, like I said, it's considered a capital state. We have the National Guard hanging out at the train stations and things. The children like to frequent certain spots, in junior high school. I don't know if y'all did it, but we used to go to the mall, get on the train and go to the mall just to hang out, just to be kids, pretty much. And so we're noticing that some of the guardsmen are giving the children a hard time, or they're giving them a curfew that's, saying, hey, we want y'all out of here by a certain time. Now, I'm not saying all the kids are innocent, because they're not, because we're not used to having National Guardsmen walking around the District of Columbia. So this is all new to everybody, the police presence, the National Guard, even though it's not as bad as it used to be. But the thing about the district is the political presence, the political, the policies and things of that nature, especially now. A lot of the district is going through gentrification because it used to be known as a chocolate city. And we have people of all different ethnicities that are here. Some of the billionaires you hear about are buying up property left and right. So it also is something to see them putting up, building, places for ICE, to work out of. And also we have data centers that are being put up. And these data centers are in our backyard in PG County. And these data centers that the billionaires have, these computers, big computers, are spewing out all kinds of toxins in the neighborhoods and things, making it bad for us. And then go back to social determinants of health once again. So these are things that lead up to people getting sick, because we're noticing that our summers are hotter, can't hardly breathe. More people have asthma. You walking around and you can have bronchitis, and there's no policies. The policies are getting weaker. We are not under the United Nations anymore. So, that's another thing that we need to incorporate is sustainability, is to make sure that we're teaching people sustainability, to understand about how much plastic is in the ocean and how that affects our body, how that affects the marine life, and how that affects our food, and all of that, it come into play. That's a couple of things, but the other piece is that then if you have a Panther location in the District of Columbia, like back in the 70s, the Black Panther Party only lasted here for about 2 years because it was very close on 18th Street, very close to the FBI building. And it was alleged that they were breaking in the Panther house and vandalizing it and things of that nature. So it's a whole lot of threats, but yet we have Nazis marching up and down the street when they want to by the White House, and they don't get any slack. But it's a whole different feel because what's popular here now is the United Front. So you have the Multicultural United Front that have people of all walks of life, attorneys, all kind of things that are with them, that are giving them the funding, whereas the Black Panther Party, we don't have residual income set up like that. We are not getting funding yet. I'm not said yet from anywhere. So it makes a big difference. And we have to understand that we are the new political prisoners, the activists, the advocates, the journalists. We are the new political prisoners. So we have to be really strategic in what we do in the district because of the white supremacy that we face with our own systems here. They are not working in our favor.
So tell me this in terms of just the analysis on the current situation that we're seeing on the political front. How is that being relayed to just on your side of the country in regards to like the war of Iran? Do you have like people in DC, black folks in DC, coming to the Panthers to ask us our analysis on that and just some of your take on that?
Well, unfortunately, like I said, a lot of people don't even know who the Black Panther Party is, but the ones that do think this, y'all need to get out there and do something. That's it. That's y'all need to go out there and do this. We don't hear, how can we help you or any of that. It's just, when the enemies show up at the gate, then everybody think that a miracle is going to happen if we go out there. And it just doesn't work that way.
I can also speak on that and then cite or y'all jump in. A lot of times when there is a lack of awareness in terms of what the Panther does and means to the community, as well as when people find themselves in a position where they're starting to see elevated levels of insecurity and instability within what they're used to in terms of their comfort, they'll run to the Panthers and expect us to pull a rabbit out of our hat as if this is something new in terms of struggle, simply because their awareness of our level of oppression is rattling their cage. And so they come to us expecting the Panthers to, go out and I guess just all of a sudden make shit happen right away. And I think this just speaks more on our people's lack of what our mission is and regards to self-determination and raising the political consciousness of the people. The Panthers is just supposed to have this instantaneous result. And that to me even speaks on the historical lack of knowledge of what a Panther is. But we find ourselves running into this to where somebody come to the door, headquarters of the Panthers, and expecting me to be able to say some profound shit that's going to actually free us right away, as if that's what we've done, in the past anyway. So what do y'all think on that?
Well, I will go and add this to that, is that that's another conversation I used to have a lot when I was in the belly of the beast. And I'd always tell the brothers that you got to understand that the Panthers' job is not to make revolution. The people make revolution. The Panthers' job is to guide the people down the proper road of revolution. They used to say that the Panther is an oxen to be ridden by the people to freedom. The Panther doesn't liberate the people, can't liberate the people, because the Panther is nothing more than the people in uniform. That's what the Panther is supposed to be. I used to tell the brothers when they asked about Jasper and how we was able to march through Jasper fully armed like that. And I used to tell them, I said, that was you marching through Jasper. The only difference between you and them dudes you saw marching through Jasper, they read some books. They didn't have any special certifications, no special licenses. Some of them was really dudes that was pulled off the street corner, put in black uniforms, and sent to Jasper. That's what that was. And the people have to understand that the Panther is nothing more than the people in uniform. At least that's what it's supposed to be. And the Panther cannot make revolution. The Panther has to raise the consciousness of the people so that the people can make revolution. No little small group can ever make revolution. Never has been able to free the people. And we don't want to be separated from the people. That's why we created the position of community liaison officer back in the day. So that chasm that separated the revolutionary from the people could be eliminated, because there can be no revolution without the people. It doesn't exist. That's why it's all power to the people, not all power to the Panthers. It's all power to the people. And the people have to understand that we cannot do anything if you don't allow us to do it. And I'm going to say this, and it might be controversial, but I got to say it. The people failed us in many ways. The Panther, the Panther was a powerful movement, and still has potential to be a powerful movement, but the people didn't support the Panther the way they should have supported the Panther. The people allowed Malcolm to die. The people allowed Martin to die. The people have to stand behind you have to stand behind your army. You have to stand behind your spokespeople. You have to stand behind these revolutionaries, because if you don't, all our power is gone. It's completely eliminated. So we need the people. Without the people, we can't do anything. You want to see us be more effective, stand behind the chapters, the organizations, and the formations, and then you'll really see some power being moved. But it can't happen without the people.
I agree with that too. Because it's our job to protect people. And we were having that conversation yesterday. We was listening to a late singer and musician, Nina Simone, and she was talking about how we failed Malcolm X because we didn't have protection for him. We failed Martin Luther King because we didn't have protection. So then the conversation came up, like, should we even have leaders because we can't protect them? And so I have to agree with Tyke on that. I don't think it's that we can't protect them. I don't know what, we have to just stay the course in the communities and bring awareness and political education and things to the community, to those who are interested, and work from there and hope that it grasps families that be willing to, come into the organization, not join if they don't want to, but just help in some type of way, just even being a volunteer, but just being a help.
Well, when you mentioned families, tell me this, and this is just a question to throw out to everybody. We don't really see families joining the Black Panther Party. It's usually somebody within the household, or usually an individual join who happens to have a family. What's your take on why you can't get a family, a male and a female together, to join together? I mean, to give you a case in point, it is so rare of a thing. I myself call it the power couple.
I like that. As a matter of fact, I have a power couple that's supposed to be coming in, and we're going to see how this works. But this is my goal. When I'm like recruiting, I'm asking questions about your family, because I would love to see us go back to, bringing the Panther Cub in, so we don't have to work so hard to find people that grow into the organization. Could be my wishful thinking, but I'm always thinking family. That's how I recruit. And even if it doesn't happen, I've tried. It could be two brothers coming in, or I do what I call a buddy system. That helps with the recruiting. I say, hey, well, we have new members coming in, but we require, if you can, bring a friend that will train with you. You have somebody to study with, what have you. Just little things like that you learn, going through life, that sometimes make a person a little more comfortable, that they have someone that they know with them coming in. Now, we don't know who's going to cross that line and really make it, but we hope that, we can get the male, the female, and some Panther Cubs eventually, and keep growing like that, because It's better than meeting people we don't have any idea who they are coming into the organization, and the vetting process have to be so strong in DC because you just don't know who's coming at you in the district. Uh, they call it the DC's nickname is the city of spies. I don't know if y'all knew that, but people will send people just to find out information like they do in any state. So right now we really have to be concerned with infiltration again. Because I have put a flyer for one day and people went crazy, and so that showed me that I needed to change that and just, do the footwork, get the foot soldiers. We have to go canvass the neighborhoods because that is a better way of doing things for us here in the District of Columbia. And the reason I say that is because people get the phone number, then they playing on the phone all day. They asking you to send an application, which I'm not, because you just want to see what's on it and all that type of stuff. So who are you and who sent you? You know what I'm saying? So you can never be too careful. But I'm always thinking family, whatever that looks like, because it looks different for different people.
So,
Hey, wait a minute, boy. I'm gonna tell on you. Back in the day, war wasn't so gung ho about family and addressing each other as family and being family because he hadn't graduated yet. He didn't have the cultural context for understanding that you cannot develop a revolution for African people without the family, because that's our first unit and that's where we derive our power from, is our family, an extension of the family. But he's grown up quite a bit over the years. But War and Psych, matter of fact, that was one of the things that kind of shocked War was the family style of operation that Psych and I developed because we lived in the same city at the time. And so we had developed a bond, or begun developing a bond that was, explicitly and implicitly that of a family structure. Everything we were working on building was coming from that mindset of, okay, this is going to be a family. We're going to build a family of revolution, as opposed to organizing, okay, that was my job. I'm going to clock out and go home to my family. And in fact, we practiced it, or I practiced it, because Warren Psych, y'all already know, the two family members that I brought to the table that were a part of the party back in the day. And I've always liked that. And I've got them on tape. We were on the radio and did an interview of them declaring it. They were, I think, 5, 6, something like that, getting on the radio and declaring themselves, because I didn't prep them to say it, but they wanted to say it and let it be known that I think it was Tahim, but my son had a son and daughter. She was older, he was younger. And we got on the radio to introduce himself. He introduced himself as the youngest member of the New Black Panther Party. And then she had to come in and not be outdone. I'm the second youngest member of the New Black Panther Party. So that's something that we've worked on developing. And that's why I say, I always try to, or I don't, I typically will emphasize the necessity of repairing the family through our cultural understanding, because before we can repair that and understand how it is we're supposed to interact, what is it that carried us through all of this drama that we've had in this land and sustained us, built, defined, and developed and defended from the beginnings of who it is we are up until this point. How were we operating? Were we bitches and niggas when we were building the pyramids, when we were creating these civilizations and whatnot? So finding that mindset and that understanding is an integral part. That and family you can't separate the two. The more you understand about yourself, the more you understand that you can't understand but so much about yourself without understanding your family, because it is that family context, good or bad, that we come from. And while the European gives lip service to it, They'll talk about Jesus and brotherly love and all that on Sunday, and then go bomb Iran because whatever on Monday. We don't do things like that. Separation of church and state. Our ancestors would what? What do you mean separation of God from the state? We don't understand those things because they're all the same dynamic, and none of them can work correctly. And when I say correctly, I mean to our advantage. None of them can work to our advantage until we understand in a contextual manner how it is they're supposed to work. We don't even understand how is the family supposed to operate. We don't have that understanding, and that's a part of our issue here. And I would say, because you had Ward said something about one of my characteristics is I often go off on a tangent and forget what it was we were talking about. So the question was somewhere around having power couples and male females come in and whatnot, and I forgot what I was going to say in that line, but you get the point.
Well, maybe this will inspire you a little bit because I want to come in and give you a correction. My babies was out there too.
Who?
My children was out there
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Mine were 4 and 2, and they was out there.
Yeah.
And they was selling buttons, and they was when we went to the land and did target practice, they was there. And
Yeah.
now I got to get E this.
Oh.
I got to get E did plant the seed for that because before that I didn't believe in it, and I wanted to. I thought I could be an active member of the movement and hide my family from it. And that now, as he said, with maturity, I understand the fallacy in that thought process. But even back then, I started bringing my children around, and I started allowing them to grow as a part of it. And they probably would have grew if I wouldn't have been took off the board so early. But they was participating in these things, and a lot of that family oriented thought process that came into the party came from this crazy dude with this straw hat on. It came from that, and he even scared some of the other members of the party because they thought he was trying to introduce a religious type of teaching to the party at the time when he was trying to introduce us back to our original self and our original cultural way of doing things. And there's again, like I said about the people a few minutes ago, you can't liberate the people and leave your family out of it. Like the government doesn't know that that's your family. Like they don't understand that that's yours.
They know everything.
Yeah, exactly. So
Can't hide.
Cannot hide. You gotta stand on it 100%.
And that was pretty much my rationale too, in a sense. But we do understand that all children are not going to want to be members, and that's something different. If they don't, then fine. They may grow up to be a doctor or an attorney or whatever it is, the entrepreneur, and later on they probably can donate some type of service to the movement. So it's all in how you do things. But I'm a firm believer that your family should be aware of the movement and what the movement is and how it functions and things like that, so that even if they experience something weird, they'll know what's happening.
Well, I brought up what I said because to me, there's not enough of that type of activity, especially nowadays, in the Panther movement and in just revolutionary organizing, period. And so I think there's not enough reinforcement of what, like what Brother Ewa had brought to us back in the day. And because there's not enough reinforcement of that, I think things to a certain degree have moved away from that. And you have this, right now we're just dealing with this whole individual liberation type of thing anyway, to where people want to express their brand of identity. And I think that has helped to distort what it means to have an intact family and how integral that family structure is to the movement. Because without even approaching things from a family structural environment, how do you be able to grasp with the concept of unity as a community? Because the first form of community is what? Having an intact family. So if I am an individual and I want to project my individuality, but yet I'm supposed to be representing something that has to do with liberating a collective, where is that dynamic? what? Jump on that, E.
Okay.
Oh, my bad. I was in my own thoughts. You know how I be. But this idea, there's something popped in my head. I keep hearing this. I don't know if it's a movement, if it's a saying, whatever it is, it's BS. This, and I get so tired of hearing people say it. This idea of we are not our ancestors, and that
Oh yeah.
drives me off my rocker when I hear that. Because it number one lets me know that these people have no concept, no idea of what it is we've gone through, and the pushback that we've consistently given throughout. It took a couple of 100 years for them of active fighting to first breach the walls of Africa to get into where we were, and it's not been an easy ride for them along the way. A lot of the things that we may have come across as far as punishments for like runaway slaves or different nuances, different developments within the structure of racism, white supremacy, are because we have pushed back, are because we have fight. They didn't get this good at being redneck racist white supremacists on their own. They had help, and that help was us, because we would refine what we're doing and continue to attempt to push back. If we'd have just gone along with the first instance of it, it would still be that way. If that had come under no challenge, no pushback, it would have just stayed that way. There would have been no development. So it's our pushback that has developed their skills and abilities to do what they're doing now. And so that whole idea of we are not our ancestors, it also again reinforces in my mind that disconnect, that, like you said, that individuality. We believe that we are individuals, and because we have been convinced and conditioned to believe our eyes, the masculine, and not our inner selves, the feminine, we can only come to the conclusion, because we don't see the pushback in the way that we think that pushback is supposed to happen. We don't understand that the pushback is bigger than that. We don't understand that pushback comes in different forms. We don't understand that this collective, when Europeans can sit back and say, well, okay, slavery was bad, but I didn't do that. In their mind, in their reality, that's true. They have no responsibility because they're individuals. We can't do that. It is beyond our makeup to not be connected to our ancestors 200-300 years ago. It's not in us. We understand culturally, and I don't mean the clothes and all of these, the people, what people think as culture. I mean the actual culture. It is not it slips out too much. Folks still pour out a little for the homies that ain't here when they go to drink something, or the things that we do when we funerals. A family reunion. All of these things are expressions of a culture that screams to breach the confines of right here, right now, but not having any confidence in that feminine part of our reality. We're not able to tap into that ancestral mindset, that ancestral strength, and realize and understand. And it's statements like that and movements like that that just, to me, highlight that mindset that we are disconnected. We have been chopped off. We as a people, this generations that are coming behind, little RT was just the beginning. It's more and more of them little cats that's doing the same type of music and going on Instagram or wherever and having people hype them up. We are so connected that we can't see how because we have become so disconnected from all of our history, not just Black history that they tell us and share with us, or that we dig around in the state, but all of our history. We have become so disconnected from it that we are now willingly, wantingly celebrating the act of actively destroying our future by setting up the next generation, excuse my language, sis, but being niggas and hoes, because that's what it is breaking it down into, and so that disconnect from what our expectations are, from what it is our way of life is, that which has held us together through all of this. Cats back in my day, they didn't say we're not our ancestors. Folks would say, the phrase I hate to hear is I couldn't have been no slave. I could have been working on the plantation and be like, yeah, you would have gone right along with
Exactly.
it, going along with it now, but you don't understand that it's changed form, but you and it's easy to talk that big talk. But when you see your best homeboy, being lynched, being eaten and consumed by the ones who are lynching him, when you see that, especially as a child, that changes your whole everything. But we haven't studied that. We haven't understood that because we're disconnected. That was them. I'm not them. I am Malcolm. I am Garvey and Harriet. I'm them. Period. That's all. And that's a reality that at one time we actually acted on. We say it, even those of us who've been in the struggle will say it, but we don't express it. We don't live it. We don't be it because we're disconnected. I mean, you know what I mean? So again, finding that family aspect to me has always been the most crucial. My children know about their great grandmama not because they met them, because of the stories that they've heard. And that's from us. As long as someone calls your name, you are never truly dead. So that being able to connect to something beyond ourselves as opposed to just the right here and now. So yeah, my bad.
I'm at the point where I was going to ask you, Comrade Robison, Chairwoman, what is it? Is there anything specific that you want to bring or let be known in regards to the community about yourself, DC, Panther programs, or anything like that?
One thing that I was happy about is that a college offered to give scholarships to reentry citizens, and we were able to get that out there. Now, it's amazing that people were kind of half and half about the opportunity to go back to school for free and get a stipend, a healthy stipend, to become a paralegal in like 5 weeks. So we did that. But my main thing is the political prisoner struggle and the reentry citizens wrongfully convicted. So currently we have one gentleman that they plan to execute on May the 12th. He's in Alabama prison, Mr. Burton. And after the state said that he wasn't guilty of the crime, they still want to execute this elderly gentleman. He's an older gentleman, and they said he has arthritis and everything. Alabama prison is horrible, really horrible. So I do have information about him, a petition that people can sign and pass around, because we need to get as many signatures as possible so we can get clemency for him. In addition to that, we do have a few more Panthers in prison that are political prisoners, and that's always a struggle. And I'm on the direct team for Reverend Joy Powell. She's a political prisoner, this sister here. She was a strong activist in New York City. She's a pastor, mother, and everything, and in Rochester, New York. And she had both of her sons unalived by police department up there. She's been in prison for 16 years now, and we're fighting hard to get her out. I'm hoping that I can do something really soon, like a curbside here in the district, and just take all the information about her and hit up the Black churches here and other churches or whoever want to make a donation to the legal team. Another thing about this case is that it is a fight for getting elderly people out of prison, and you're considered elderly at 60. And this is the horrific part, is that because we look at it like it's death by incarceration after a certain point. You've been in prison for so many years and you've developed said illnesses, and I want to respect the family, so I'm not going into what type of illnesses and things, but you want to respect the family, but this person has these illnesses. They can't help themselves, more or less harm anybody else, but they keep them in prison until they are ready to expire. And it's wrong. And if they get out, they releasing them while they're in hospice care. And so that's another thing that's my platform. That's one of my biggest platforms. Another interest of mine is the infant mortality rate amongst Black babies is higher than anybody else's. And I had asked the question, and I was serious, and the people looked at me like I was crazy in the meet. But I said, do we need body cams at the hospital now? You know, because we have went through that event with this nurse breaking the infant's ankles or whatever, just for the heck of it. And she was supposed to get 3 years, and she's out of prison already. But yet we have political prisoners that stay in prison for 40, 50 years and all like that. So those are just a couple of what's going on in my mind. And I need the manpower to really move this. And I have some other things going on that requires money. So that's just a couple things right there. And always be aware of your policies and your laws where you live. I know a lot of people like to say the woke don't vote and this type of thing, but that doesn't mean you can't study the political science of it and things like that. So you know what's going on. And it's not just locally anymore. We wake up in the morning, it's like you got to look at the world news to see what's going on abroad. It's all coming together, and we all understanding imperialism a lot better. That's for sure. But those are some of the things I'm working on, and just something that I wanted to put out there that was near and dear to my heart. All power to the people.
All right, all power. Make sure we get those links, and then we'll post that as a part of the information when this video is produced.
Okay, cool. And well, let me see. The 12th is when, because today is the 8th. Oh yeah, happy International Women's Day. And I'm just really hoping and praying that he gets enough signatures and get clemency. And again, his name is Mr. Burt.
After that.